about being grateful and thankful in all things. Right. Take one step at a time. Allow gratefulness and thankfulness to shape every idea, every decision, everything that I do, so that I'm constantly operating in it and not operating against it.
Hi everybody, this is JD Bailey. I'm here with my man Jabari, McDavid. How you doing?
Very good, my friend. Very good.
Good. You guys are tuned into the Paint Your Future podcast, and today, as you can see, we're actually on set. So we have a set today. We're with Jabari, serial entrepreneur, my mentor, probably one of the people that are doing the most projects I've ever met. You got a lot going on, and I think today what I'm expecting is to talk about principles.
Okay.
And I think if there's anybody to talk to about principles, you're the perfect person. So
okay, I received that.
if you want to just talk to the folks and let them know how you introduce yourself, go ahead.
Jabari McDavid. Started off in the music business some 25 years ago. That became, I would say, my university. That would have been my college, my master's, my doctorate program, traveling around the world with different music groups. There's a real education that you gain from traveling that you can't get necessarily from your books, but actually physically seeing these places, man, does a world for your history class, and that was probably been my biggest teacher.
Traveling,
yeah.
Was there something that you remember that sparked that travel bug inside of you?
Yeah, I was a navigator at a young age. You know, here in the valley where we grew up in this area, I used to always go to the mountains over here, or through the LA River.
Oh, okay.
The little sewer, we used to call the sewer, which is not, and I used to just always want to explore. So I was always an explorer, always a navigator. And as soon as I graduated high school, I took a train around the United States. And I circled the United States just because, when something's in you, it's just in you.
How long was that trip?
That trip was a 2-week trip.
Wow. And just by yourself? Or you got friends?
I called a friend of mine as I was heading towards the airport. Heading towards the train station in downtown LA. A friend of mine, Vincent Versher. And I said, "You want to roll with me?" And he says, "Yeah, I'll roll." And we both got tickets for $214. We went from LA to Chicago to New York to Alabama back to New York, and then back to Chicago, then back to California.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys just stayed in different hotels, or what was the goal?
We slept on the train.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you sleep on Amtrak.
Damn.
And then when we got there, we find a hotel room for like $21, stuff like that,
Damn.
Yeah.
And then out of those 2 weeks, I know it's been a while, but what were probably two of the biggest takeaways from that trip?
Well, the level of independence and just being able to travel and see things was very natural. It felt very natural, and you're a youth going into your adulthood, being 18, and so it's just the discovery of new places, what it represents, what it does for you, what it excites within you, things that we've learned. The same guy ended up traveling around with I brought him on a tour too, so he traveled with me, and so we got to do it on a much larger scale. But more importantly, we got to practice our entrepreneurial drive that was in us. We got to practice, and that's what the road allowed us to do.
So it was the traveling that sparked the entrepreneurship type of mentality. Would you
No,
say that, or?
I'd say the need. I say need. Need sparked that. As a young man, my mother worked so hard, and to take care of 4 children by herself and go through school. I would say that my desire to have the basic necessities that it was very difficult for her to provide based on her little bit of time to actually work and go to school and provide and take care of kids and all the basics of the ands and the ands, right? And from that standpoint, from a very young age, I was like, I'm going to make some money. So from the age of 10, I started working.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was your first job, and
first job cleaning up around the building. Second job selling candy selling flowers on the corner.
Yeah,
right there.
I think a lot of us have those type of jobs, just selling something.
Yeah.
And then how did it lead to music? Because I think that's something where, at least in a lot of our perspectives, there's a selective group that gets you in to the right rooms. especially in music. So
Yeah.
what got you there into the right rooms to start doing this traveling, fulfill those needs?
Well, my first experience in the music business, or the business itself, I say entertainment business, was um, Sinbad when I was 12 years old. And so I saw Sinbad on the street. It turned out that his brother and sister lived next door to my building.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I saw them. I went up to Sinbad at 12 and I asked him to put me down. And he says, and I guess he must have, he must have been amused, or he must have been delighted. This young kid is asking to be put in the music industry. I was 12 years old. And so he took me up on my offer immediately and told me to meet his brother and sister on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. And they took me down to the set of Different World.
Oh, wow.
That was a spinoff from the Cosby Show.
Right.
And he took me down there to kind of show me and introduce me to the business, introduce me to, all the cast and from Debbie Allen on down, Katim Artisan, all the actors in there.
Wow.
And that sparked my entertainment day, because it was I asked to be a part of something that happened immediately, and then from that standpoint, it began to create my, it created my
curiosity.
My curiosity.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying? And it handled something. It was something specific that it dealt with within me. I couldn't describe it then.
Right.
Nowadays, I can kind of see, what that was.
Yeah, and it was like a hunger to get more, to do more. Would you say that, or?
I would say that, because your needs weren't satisfied off of one shot, right? Yeah, he took me down there, but I'm saying I'm still in a position of still having needs and desires that you want to fulfill. I'm still, I'm 12 years old. I told you I had to get those jobs, so I was still working jobs to take care of those needs. But it was enough to spark a seed. He planted a major seed in me. Yeah.
Yeah. So he became a mentor at that point, basically.
Well, the thought of him was
Yeah.
what mentored me. Yeah, because all he did, he introduced me, and he went about his life and was growing and building and doing what he does, and he became the biggest at what he did at that time as a comedian / bringing the art, the music back, that style of music, that 70s music back to the popular forefront with the HBO special.
Right.
Yeah, he was a phenomenal seed planter. And then from that point of 12 years old, at 15, I met Philip Bailey on the basketball courts, and he was lead singer of Earth, Wind & Fire. And then that started the relationship that put me on the road. So, from a very tender age, I was introduced to some very key figures that really, where it's no guessing. These are the guys that actually do it, and they actually, took interest in a young child, and gave me the information that gave me the ability to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because that's like the top level. Sometimes people want to get introduced and then they work their way up, but you from a child, you're Earth, Wind & Fire, okay, one of the biggest groups ever to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I'm sure they didn't start you off doing tour stuff right away. What did you start with them? Like, how did you build that relationship?
Well, I built that relationship just doing, like, Philip Bailey would ask me things like, to clean up his car, or wash his garage out, or set up a studio, things like that. And so I would take on every task with straight execution. You know what I mean? Like precise execution. Whether it was cleaning his cars, when I did that, or cleaning the garage, cleaning up every oil stain on his floor, whatever it takes, just doing everything, from cutting his hair, just taking on all jobs. You just take on whatever wherever's the need, you're going to figure out how to, fulfill that need.
And then, I mean, this is something that I've spoke to with other entrepreneurs. Do you believe that how you do anything is how you do everything, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, you don't understand at that age that, excellence is a way of life. At that age, you're just like, you think about it. If you think about football practice, football practice is some of the things I used to dread the most. And what you had to do in football practice is you had to stretch before everybody would do a group stretching. And you did minimum to get by, just because you were just kind of going through the motions. You didn't know that doing maximum at that time of stretching would have helped you do peak performance. And so you don't equate that as a child, but as you get older, you realize like going all in just gets greater results. And so, you take on an attitude of all in this.
And that just translated to everything from
Yeah.
the small jobs to even cutting hair. And what would you say was your break to actually start doing the work that entertainment people do? Because, I mean, now you've done so many things from tours to business startups to investing.
Yeah.
What would you say sparked that as far as the responsibility?
What got me on the road, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. What got you onto the road?
Well, it's just a mishap. I mean, I got into a little bit of trouble, and based on just reacting and going on my emotions on something, and that opportunity led to an arrest that led to it was just a real temporary arrest. It was really quick.
Thank God.
In and out, right?
Right.
Led to an arrest that led to an opportunity where he said, "Man, I just Philip Bailey just wanted to." He wanted to see me do better. So he gave me an opportunity to travel on the road, and that opportunity, I never looked back. Yeah.
And was there a certain principle that opportunity taught you? Because we're talking about principles, right? So what sparked from that mishap? What was a principle that you were able to translate into everything that you do now?
Well, I say it like this. It taught me grace, right? So here is somebody that's, has a special interest in you. And you're just a kid, that has a lot of desire, and that interest then turns into opportunity, and that opportunity, then transitioned me into a new lifestyle, into a new. It's like I was only supposed to do it for 3 months, and then when I got out there, I just started putting together deals, and I just wasn't satisfied. I started doing. I did the shoes. So I put out the shoes and the water bottles. Filled up the water bottles with Gatorade or water.
Yeah.
Put it on each band's station. Probably pick up the dirty clothes at the end. And so, in order for me to be needed on an ongoing basis, not just for this one tour, that's all I was promised, this 3-month tour, I then began to take on every job that nobody wanted, whether it was doing the luggage, whether it was whatever somebody did not want to do, I was doing it because I wanted to create that place so that I wasn't going to go anywhere, basically, at the end of the day.
Like a form of leverage. Being
Absolutely.
In that way.
You learn that. You learn, like, what I'm saying, is if you can look around, you see complacency. You see a lot of people that's done a job for a long time and they're tired, worn out. You're young, you're energetic, you just started.
Yeah.
And so for you, you're like, and what I'm saying, you're gobbling everything up.
And I can't wait for this opportunity. Let's get it.
Right. It's fresh, brand new. What I'm saying, what you do with it is what you do with it.
Yeah. I think as you're talking, it's interesting because I'm thinking back to how we met.
Yeah.
And like just straight up on a lift.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the thing I did with you, I was doing that on every single ride.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a company. This is what I want to do. Hey, let's connect. Blah, 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 blah. I think you may have been the third person to take me up on the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we met in your office and you had like 2 phones, I think at that time you were working with A$AP Rocky already, right?
What year was that?
Like 2014.
I just started working with it.
2014.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But we met in 2015.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it took us a while because
no, it was August 2015.
Yeah.
I just moved out here. Just finished. Really just got custody of my daughter, and I was and so we moved back from Chicago to LA.
Yeah.
And I was starting all over again, and I had my 15-year-old daughter was turning 16. She just turned 16, and I remember you giving your saying what you want to do in the business and the open canvas aspect and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I know I had a need, and I saw your temperament. I said, this guy has a nice temperament. This is the kind of guy that I could have around my daughter on a regular basis and feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So immediately, and I said, I know that the industry is filled with people that don't know the industry. So, my thing was like,
right.
Yeah, let me give you let me put you in a position so that you see the real aspect of the business, not somebody just talking to do something. Just like I got an opportunity at 12 and 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted you to have an opportunity to really see it firsthand, the real guys that are really doing it and how they do it. Right. And so if I can sow into you that, see, I learned that, when you sow, you always reap a harvest. It doesn't matter what you do with the opportunity. Opportunity of me sowing takes care of itself. You know what I mean? I learned that over a period of time. So you can do right and do well by people. Don't worry about people doing right by you. It automatically happens. So yeah, it was just the experience, you know. So so everything that we discussed over years, you know, it became let's see it transpire. Let's actually do it. Let's travel the world, JD. Let's do this. Let's do that.
And it happened. It was crazy to me in a way, because I think you were one of my first mentors that I've had.
Yeah.
And even though we never had like a namesake to it or whatever, but you invited me to that one concert. It was like Miguel.
Yeah.
It was Miguel, Kendrick, Snoop,
At the cemetery.
Hollywood Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so clear how much I remember from like those first few shows.
Yeah.
Because you had texted me like, "Hey, want to go to a show?" I'm like, "Yeah, is it tonight or when is it?" And you said Hollywood Forever. And I thought that was more of a demand. Like, and Hollywood Forever is now.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, "Wait, what?" So I showed the person I was with. I'm like, "What does this mean? What does this mean?" And I was like tripping on myself.
You even got the director laughing.
I know. I'm like, "Wait, Hollywood is how people act at the top? Like, it's weird." So
Yeah.
whatever. I got ready. I did what I needed to do to get there. And then I remember you even at the door, you took off your wristband.
Yeah.
And you only had one, and you gave it to me. And you're like, "Yeah, I'm good. Nah, everybody knows me." And then you had a specific route.
Yeah.
And then you knew every person on the route to get back to where we got to go.
Yeah.
And then I saw that.
Yeah.
And then I think when I was working with you at Lucky, what was the Arizona one?
That one was called a Pot of Gold.
Pot of Gold, yeah. And that same thing that you did with me, I did that with like probably 2 or 3 of the important people where we couldn't get passes.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's something that I've been able to like, what you do, I pay very close attention to.
Yeah.
And when you hit me, I'm very responsive and like as quick as I can react.
Yeah.
And that relationship has taught me how to treat people
Yeah.
in a business relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the urgency that it takes to be successful
Yeah.
if you want to work with anybody long term.
Yeah, 100%.
So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, absolutely,
and I think
man.
it's like, it's one of the reasons why you do so many things and you're able to balance it.
Yeah.
And then even your perspective on balance is different than what I originally thought.
Yeah.
So talk
absolutely.
about that, like balance.
Well, you know, over you know, my lifespan in doing, you know, touring and all that, I began to realize that yes, traveling the world is great. Working with these talented artists, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff is you know, all that stuff seems to be great. But one thing that what it lacks is what you do with your time. You know, having young kids and then those kids getting older, you realize, man, you know, when are you going to be a part of their everyday lives? You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be nice to roll with Usher or you know, A$AP Rocky or whoever, Earth, Wind & Fire you're working with. But if you can't spend time with your legacy and see them grow. So I started going after time. I realized that, you know, I learned that from this pastor named Bill Winston, you know, taking dominion over time. And when I realized that time was the asset that I was after, not money, I began to really focus on balance. And I realized that I was out of balance and I wanted to get in balance. And I realized that balance was not just merely something that I say I desire in my life. It is actually a destination. Balance is a place.
Balance is a place.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's different.
Okay. So
That's definitely different, yeah.
so what I mean by that is this, is that I seek balance in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I surrender to balance. Therefore, you know what I mean? I clothe myself in balance. Therefore, I am balanced. I do the things of balance. And because I surrender the balance, so my wanting to be with my kids, coupled with wanting to provide for them, to be in a loving, caring, you know, marriage, versus, you know, what the road life can offer you in a right.
And regular distractions,
Right,
industry
right.
stuff. Yeah.
And so to have that, and to have the balance in life, and number one and most important thing, you know, my relationship with the Word of God, that was what really taught me what the Word represents. And so I started to look at words as exactly what they are. Read the definition, accept them for what they are, and receive those things. And balance is the one that handles all things. I realize that balance, you know what I'm saying? God always talks about balance. And so then that's what I began to seek, I began to seek that.
And you said something earlier, I don't want to pass over it,
Yeah.
but you said time is a real asset.
Yes.
And I wanted to highlight that because I hear so many times that time is money. Time is money. You sacrifice your time to make money.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I would actually agree with you.
Yeah.
But for people that are watching, could you kind of elaborate on time is a real asset? How are you able to take dominion over your time at such a young age?
Well, something that I'm constantly discovering. It's like, it's called growth. Growth is constantly being shaped. So I'm constantly being shaped. I learned that you're constantly being shaped in that 40 or 30, like 30, 40, 50. Those ages are not like where your destination, obviously, because I got the opportunity, the rare opportunity to, when I worked with Earth, Wind & Fire, I got to see people 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years older than me, right? Depending on who I was working with.
Right.
By that, I got to see advance in advanced time. So I got to see the future. And when you get to see the future, you begin to say, okay, what do you want in your life? And for me, I realized the road was a type of place that gobbled a lot of time, and people move on in life, and then what do you have? You got a tour, and then after that tour, then you start all over.
Square one.
Right, you start back all over. Yes, you'll have some money. You saw some great sights.
Yeah.
But it gets to a place and point where, you don't care about another yacht that you get on, another private plane that you get on, another, 5-star hotel you go, all that stuff. I don't care who's on the concert bill, who's playing, it all becomes mute. It becomes the same color, my friend. It's all beige. You know what I mean? You start to realize, man, that you start realizing those words are the real coup de grace, the real strength. You know what I mean? So representing those words. So love, generosity, balance, all those things.
And I think even this conversation, it was sparked by words and how you sowed seeds.
Right.
And the fact that just yesterday, I hit you with the text of what you said 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And you happen to be in town. You're all over the place. You're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You're on the road.
Yeah.
And the fact that I sent you the video, we
That's
moved
by
on
design.
this.
That's not just I'm not just those places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an architect in my design. Right. I'm an architect of my design. What is my design? It's how I see it. It's my perspective. It's how I look at life. You know what I'm saying? And traveling so much, you realize, okay, you don't have to be zip code bound. You don't have to be that. You don't have to have a zip code and lock you in, and I have to live here, and I have to, all those various things. You realize that, this whole world is for us, right? This world was given to us, right? We have dominion, right? We have dominion in this place, and you take dominion over your time. And that, back to your last question.
Yeah.
How do I take dominion over my time? I'm all in, right, with my time and my schedule. And so I appreciate this moment right here, sitting here with you guys, talking about seeds, talking about nurturing, talking about buildings, talking about strength. And I keep my mind in these places so I don't waste time by being frustrated or fatigued or angry or tired. These are time stealers. And I don't want to hang out in time stealers. Right. I want to spend my time and really honoring any space and time. So if I are in this space, I honor this time. Right? And so I'm taking possession over this time right here, taking possession, claiming the land. You know what I mean? So so
it goes deep with that. That's dope. Yeah.
It's a space.
Yeah, and even what you said your words are powerful. Like from the conference that
words are powerful, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Words are powerful, and you create the world around you with your words.
They're forming something. You can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. So you're always, something is growing all the time, whether it's cancer or whether it's, or whether it's good health, something is growing all the time.
So let me ask you a question. You said the tree, it's told by the fruit that it bears.
Yeah.
What's the number one requirement to be an apple tree? Or for a tree to bear apples, I'm sorry.
What you talking about, a seed?
The number one requirement for a tree to bear apples.
You tell me.
It has to be an apple tree.
Okay, yes. Okay, I got you.
So we have to be who we are, and we have to know whose we are.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the principles
Without a doubt.
And knowing the word and whose we are and what we're given from birth in the world that's created for us.
That's very important, JD.
Yeah, and I learned a lot of that from you. I mean, we go to church, we talk about these different things.
Yeah.
Right now it's a business type of conversation, but business
is a conversation.
But yeah, no, it's just a
Right.
conversation.
Right. It's conversation. And listen,
You're right.
it
yeah.
all applies. I mean, what is marriage? Marriage is a business transaction. The most sacred and honorable institution that you'll ever be a part of is a marriage. And it's a business transaction at the end of the day. Legal paperwork has to be signed and everything else for the most part, unless you do a covenant marriage, which is, fantastic too before God. But these are so when you understand these things, it's all part of life. What I mean? That's why I'm my company. I am my company, right? As much as that Jay-Z line was a line of, ooh, look out, I am a business. No, I'm a businessman, right? Of course, that's a fact.
Right.
When you understand how the United States is built and based and how it's set up, you begin to understand how important a corporation is and how important an employee is and all these various things. So in a marriage, you got to understand roles. Everything is about role, understanding your role. And so when you understand how to serve in a role, then you know how to lead in a role. But you must be an excellent server in order to be an in order to have the opportunity to ever lead, right? So you have to be of service. And so, learning from the road, doing all those jobs from the very beginning, and doing every aspect on the road, let me have an appreciation for the business. And that appreciation is what had men, want to work with me and want to see the same common goal, success together.
And then now that you've done the touring aspect, you've done the business sides, how do you paint your future today? Like, what is the way that you spend your time to be able to provide?
So right,
forward?
okay. So right now, how I spend my time is I train. I spend a lot of time training. I realize that if I am training, meaning if I'm running, exercising, working out of some sort, if I'm doing that, then I'm putting myself in optimal position to have the best thoughts. And if I'm putting myself in the best position to have the best thoughts, that means that what I do will trend to bear good fruit, right? So I do things according to that. So I said, let me just focus on my training. Don't let me focus about the stress or all the things I got to do. Let me focus on my training and getting that part done. And training means waking up, reading that word, what I'm saying? See, because you got to sow good fruit, right? So you got to sow good seed. So I gotta love on my wife. I gotta, I gotta have patience with my 2-year-old. And right, those are all conditions to let you know that you're in balance. If I'm snapping on people and I'm telling people, yeah, you're supposed to do this, and I'm just snapping, then I'm out of balance, and then it lets me know that everything, right, I'm off focus, right?
But what would you say you're training for? Because usually people train for like a certain destination,
for sure.
a marathon,
Right.
position. Since we're talking about principles, what do you put in your mind?
Always to be ready.
Okay.
Right, always to be ready at all times. It's all a destination. Being ready at all times, not getting ready, but being ready. So if I'm training, I don't have to worry. I don't have to start training to get somewhere. I'm already in training mode, right? Immediately, I can just jump up right now and go hit a couple of those hills right quick, based on the fact. And then my fatigue will then, I'll begin to breathe, and then I'll see clearer, and then I'll okay, then we'll approach the same conversation again. You see, we're always getting nuggets. We're always shaping. It's constant, right? It's a constant decision. Life is a constant decision. It's not the fact that, one day, say a couple lines, you get saved, and, life, and, you have a happy life, or you live your life, and everything is fine. No, it's a constant decision. I want to say this, and then we could talk on some more about it. Everybody must know authority. See, you have to understand authority. And in order for you to live a life, too loud, the thing?
That's cool.
Yeah. In order to live a life of speaking things and letting them happen, you have to understand your authority. And the only way to understand your authority is that you have to understand the power of your words. And so And so when I speak something, that's why I got two ears, I got one mouth, right? So I got to listen more than I speak. It's already it's the basic, I'm saying, it's basic.
It's by design, like you said.
Right, it's by design, right?
Yeah.
I didn't make the design was already made.
Yeah.
So it lets me know that as much as I'm speaking right now, because this is for a purpose, but the truth of it, I must be more of a listener. Bottom line, because I have to for a reason. And so I'm accountable for my words. I'm accountable for the words that I use. And so me being a vessel, JD, and what I've learned over a period of time, that I'm strictly a vessel. And what I fill myself up with, that's what I am. And so when you start taking things back to the basics, like training, readiness, all those kind of various things, then you start taking relationship, spending time, of how we're going to go about things. How do we build one another up? See, we're all right. So iron sharpens iron is a real place. It changed my whole perspective on how I even raised my kids. Like when my kids were like in high school, and I got babies too now. But when my kids, there was no asking me, can you stay home? It's like, can you stay home? Right? They would, that's right. Do you want to stay? Right, that's up to you. You know what you have to do. See, when you put responsibility, right, back into the person that's using their gift, practicing their gifts, right, practicing their exchange, practicing with their creation, right? We're made in the image, so these are creators. These are creators. So when you do things and you're understanding balance, when you learn how to make a decision at a young age about your life and be an active participant in your own life, then how you make decisions, all of that changes,
The way you make decisions,
yeah.
as you're saying.
Yeah, the way you make decisions.
I think what I'm hearing too is like, you've been talking about design and understanding design, understanding the two ears and one mouth, understanding that spending time is a design, understanding that we design the way we want our world to look, and we design the things we consume because we become them.
Yeah.
So it's like, it takes a lot to decode these things that we're taught.
Yeah.
And for people that are just hearing these concepts or these principles for the first time, what would be a way that they could train to get better at decisions, to understand design, to move forward and paint their own path? Like, what would you say is maybe one or two things that they can do to work on understanding these principles?
Well, not to be sound religious, right? Because that's a term. I would say I would read Proverbs.
Proverbs?
Something basic. Just read Proverbs, read Psalms. Begin that basic relationship with words and what you seek after. Wisdom, is more than fine jewels. It's like this. I got to spend ample time. I know everybody wants to talk about millions, how to make their money, how to do that kind of stuff and all that other stuff. But I spent some really good private time with one billionaire in particular, man. Such a phenomenal guy. Taught me a lot and believed in my concepts several times. Invested millions several times. Millions, And I was so appreciative that he believed in the concepts and ideas that was brought forth to him, that, that I was using that role. But man, I saw him rock and roll with his kids, or with his youngest kid. I remember being on a plane with him, traveling from Amsterdam to Portugal, and then later on we were going into Grenada. And it was just me and him on the plane, and his daughter. And seeing their relationship, I realized what I did not want. Now, I love flying on that Falcon with him. I loved, he had a full staff, and we just came off his boat and everything else, and we're even meeting his boat down in Grenada, that has his full staff and all that rest of the stuff. And that was beautiful, man, that whole concept. And he broke down what everything cost so I would know for my own self, and I was 100% engaged in that. But none of it represents, none of it matters, if you don't have that word, if you don't have that yielding for something that's beyond this material substance. Like I can't hustle for money, because when the lights, remember everything. I learned this in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Always see with the end in mind, right? Always with the end in mind. So if I'm in the end, meaning I'm laid up in the bed before before the saying the lights go out in life and I'm going into eternity, right, so to speak, right? Then how much bread and all that kind of stuff and my possessions don't matter. It's the quality of my life and my loved ones, and did I spend the time with them the way? Did I nurture? Did I love? Did I give? That is all that's going to matter at that moment in time. You know what I mean? How I spent it, right? How you spent that time. And so when you start beginning to learn that, and as much as you desire to have all the things that you desire and have the to be able to afford, beautiful settings and backgrounds like this, right? There's nothing more important than, saying love, generosity, kindness, patience. You know what I mean? Right. Against
human principles that we all, exercise with each other.
Well, fruits of the spirit, right? Well, we don't all exercise that mug, right? But, say only a few.
We hope to.
Well, saying the word says, enter through thy narrow gates. For wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many will enter through that. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few will find it. So I'm understanding that the direction I'm going is not the popular direction, but it is a necessary because I understand that only a few will find that way, and so I desire to constantly be shaped to find that way. And that's a way of love, right? And in that, I know that I was gifted with the ability to understand finance and understand growth and understand multiplication. And because I have that gift, then I want to honor that gift. In the past, I haven't honored that gift. I was such used to making money that I never really worried about how I saved it or what, because I always had the ability to make it. You know what I mean? But that's not honor. You know what I mean? And what is honor? Read the definition of honor. Be that, right? And so from that perspective, that's how I look to evaluate.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, because you just mentioned gift, I think understanding our gifts helps us become the person that we seek to be. Something that I'm learning about myself is that I have a gift of meeting people and networking.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to walk into a room, meet a few people, no matter if it's in this area or that area or this level of status. Like, it doesn't matter to me, and I feel like that's been something how we got connected.
Yeah, for sure.
But what would you say your gift is? Would you say that's finance, or because it's yielded you all of these things, and now we're having the principal conversation?
I'll say like this. And this is a fact. Anything that I've done on the road or anything like that, I never had to get money from an artist. I've always brought the money in. So I worked with Earth, Wind & Fire for 15 years, and I brought in more money than they have ever given me. So therefore, I brought in the money that I was paid by. So it let me know that I had the ability to see things. I had ability to know how to bring in finance, how to grow it. So we all have roles. Doesn't mean that I'm a day-to-day operating person, but more so I can see the big picture and how to put people together and how to produce the relationship and then keep it moving. I'm not one to manage the project as much as find the right people to manage the project. Put it together, find the right. So you learn in your mistakes. You learn in your failures. You know what I mean? You learn in these things. Being at the age I am right now, you look back at life, man, and you so appreciate every opportunity of that allowed you to grow. You know what I mean? To feel, be uncomfortable, and that uncomfortableness always, it brings forth, those jewels and those diamonds in your life.
So that's what you would say your gift is, being able to grow, bring together things that are helping others.
Yeah, people. Having a certain level of empathy, compassion. Those things are very important. Have a, love, desire, a love for people. Love for man. That love. And always wanting to. There's a thing called being like a win-win deal.
Okay.
So you always want to do a deal that everyone wins. Like you set up deals for everyone to win, not for yourself to win. This is one of those 7 habits of highly effective people.
Yeah, like it's in one of those books. It had to be.
Yeah, it's in there for sure. Those are the 2 foundational books when it comes down to business. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Those are 2 books for sure people got to read.
Oh, you know what I'm saying, Bible first.
Bible first, okay.
Yeah, because you got to understand the dynamics. You got to understand, you got to understand the manual,
Yeah.
the life manual, and then you'll learn how to navigate through everything else.
Yeah, and you had mentioned something, because I think throughout this conversation it comes back to those farming, like the rhetoric of farming and the comparison of how we sow seeds, we reap the harvest, there's different seasons. Talk to me about the importance of the soil or the foundation. I think that's something we missed so far, and we had a long conversation about this in the past.
Yeah. Well, the principles of farming are key, right? And I'm so careful with my words. I know you said rhetoric, but I understand that.
Not rhetoric. Okay, yeah.
I'm saying right, because everything matters.
Yeah,
Right? I don't put anything on myself. I never speak depression. I never speak anxiety. I never speak any of those things that so commonly are spoken on people these days. So many labels. I don't speak labels on people as well. This is very important, because the measure you give is the measure you receive. So if I speak limitation on you, I'm speaking it on me. Remember, we talked about seeds.
Right.
It's so important. So I never speak limitations on you, because if I speak limitations, then therefore I'm transferred upon myself. So I take no labels, I put no labels on people. And so soil, which is a natural thing, we think about relationship and man and woman and all these kind of various things. And the Bible always talks about, sowing amongst good ground. It talks about reaping some 30, some 60, some 90 fold. Like you can sow into a ground but because of there's no root, the sun comes out and scorches it and scorches the plant and it dies, or because of the worries about the world and the thorns choke the life out of the word, because I'm so worried about things.
It's tied up in
right
things,
but when it's sowed amongst good soil, an environment that's not worrisome, an environment that nurtures and honors, then the return of that seed is some 60, some 90 fold, right? That's a multiplication factor. I see myself as a multiplier. You know what I mean? So when you look at me as a symbol, it'll be a multiplying symbol. And so when I'm added to an equation, there is a level of understanding that this situation will be multiplied.
Like an exponent.
Yes.
Because it's exponential growth working.
Right. 100%.
To multiply
JD.
things. Yeah.
And I'll say that our us working together for now, say 7-8 years of whatever.
It's crazy how much time now, huh?
Right. It allows a certain things that you would understand that I'm saying, or things that we're discovering about what we are saying, because it ain't about what I'm saying. It's about what is being said, right? You begin to really take honor of possession of these words. So soil is a very important foundational thing, and what we see is we see that harvest. Just like when you put that segment up about 5 years ago, and then now what did it do? It put us here, right? So
on
here,
set.
right on set. And so now we take this opportunity, we take the fullness of this opportunity to now relate, and how we relate. We pray that it can the seed now it transfers and does exactly what it's supposed to do. We're not concerned about the seed. See, the seed knows how to care for itself. They talk about look at the lilies of the field. Look at Solomon in all his splendor, right? Wasn't dressed like the field, right? The lilies of the field. And listen, they don't worry about where God provides, right? So don't worry about how how they're gonna eat, drink. It's already is provided. And so when we take on that lifestyle, we take on that understanding.
Yeah.
Leave your worries aside, because you could choose to be in worry or you could choose to be in confidence. These are destinations. Remember that. They're real places. So if I sow into the ground, and if I'm sowing seeds of worry and doubt, then what am I receiving? Right, worry and doubt. Right, that's what's coming in my life. So I'm very careful of what I sow. So I check thoughts constantly. Always checking your thoughts. So your thoughts are in line with strength, right? So they're not in line with weakness, right? So you're always doing an inventory check. This is a reversing the age clock. This is how you reverse the age clock. This is how you take those those oxidizing, saying how you're oxidated, and so you're taking these lines of this wear and tear and this world that just comes and kind of blankets itself and blasts you, and you're just blown away. I'm just worn out by the world, worn out by my decisions, I'm worn out by everything, and you start looking old. There's a guy named Tim Morrow, right? That who says growing old doesn't make you sick, but growing sick makes you old. And that is a sickness, your thinking process. That is the true killer.
Say that again. So growing old doesn't make you sick. Growing sick makes you old.
Yeah, growing sick makes you old.
Mentally, physically.
100%. Has to. You're you, and you're mentally, you're physical. Right. You're right. There's different parts of you.
Yeah.
Right. There's different parts of you.
And if I could exercise anything I've learned from you, is to basically say what I want to see. Focus on the things that I would want. And I feel like this is not going to be the last time we talk about this, but not the last time that we help people when they're listening, whether it's business, whether it's our foundations, the things that we're sowing and multiplying. I'm excited because it's just one set. There's multiple sets out there.
Yeah. And they're constant. And the thing about it is, it's just like not even having to concern ourselves with even what we even do with the content, right? The content will handle itself. It has a role and a job, and it got nothing to do with me, right? Either I obey or I don't obey, right? Right. If I would, me as a vessel in itself is irrelevant. What I fill myself up is what makes things relevant, right? Fill myself up with relevancy, right? Right. And because that's what I am, therefore I am relevant, because I fit what I fill myself up with, right? What I fill the vessel up with, right? When I understand those dynamics, words themselves, I gobble those things up because they are exactly what they are. Love it tells me what love is. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. Love doesn't keep no record of wrongs. It's, it's kind, it's patient, it doesn't brag or boast. These are various basic components that and so when you realize balance, it's not about having the Lamborghini in a house and look at what I got, and and then on Thanksgivings I show all the turkeys I gave out in the hood, and or I feed the kids in Africa, on my special, and I show you all the homeless people that I gave money to on Instagram. See, right, the scripture tells you very, very plainly. It says, those ones that give in to be seen, their reward is, they got their reward. That's their reward. But when you don't give to be seen, that principle of seeing, that's sowing that seed, man, the harvest of that is beyond your imagination. Don't simplify your life by thinking like I do a gig, they're going to pay me 6 times the value of my money, and this is why I do it. No, I'm not limiting myself. You know what I mean? I am sowing seeds, and the law of sowing seeds does everything it needs to do, and I keep it pushing.
There's some amazing principles. I'm gonna have to watch this over and over again.
Yeah.
To really soak it in.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And then editing, writing, all that kind of stuff. All that. No, I'm not sure about.
There's no editing. This is raw. This is gonna be raw.
I respect the game. Right.
But as we come to the end of this first video, first of many. Is there any last things that you want to leave with the people who are going to tune into this?
Yeah, I would say like this. I'm going to tell you, number one thing that I would recommend anybody to do in life, you're going to have a lot of thoughts in your mind. Those thoughts are going to put you in a certain position where it makes you like, okay, I got to handle myself, or you feel bottled down, whatever. I'm going to tell you, number one thing I would recommend every human being to do is to breathe. Right. It seems like it's basic, right? If breathing is how we live life. I would say always see that very basic thing. That's a very basic thing, and that's a gift to each and one of you guys. By breathing, being grateful and thankful in all things. See, when I do that breathing, and I do that just 2 minutes to just focus on my breathing and I'm focused on gratefulness and thankfulness, it's aligning me to not have, so my attitude is lined up with the direction I want to go. Gratefulness and thankfulness. Breathing are some phenomenal life elixirs that will take you to the next level by just simply breathing and practicing gratefulness and thankfulness.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. It's going to be the first of many for you guys that are tuning in. Jabari, McDavid, if they wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way?
Reach out to JD.
Okay. All right, y'all. It's another episode of Paint Your Future podcast, where your dreams paint your future. We're out here creating dreams, multiplying, sowing seeds so that we could reap a harvest that we chose to sow. So take care. Peace.
Big facts, big steps towards my future. Last time I talked with God, he told me you the one who has a spirit of courage to get you through it. Power never come without persecution. He gave you the vision, go execute it.